All right, guys, I am live. What is up? Happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday. Your girl is live. Looks good. All right, so let's get into it. Happy Monday, guys. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Janice Fredericks. I'm the retail genius, and my goal is to help 100 Black owned beauty supply stores get opened in a single calendar year. So I'm excited today because I decided to do the upload of my book, Breaking Barriers, um, to do the upload live. Some of you guys know this if you've been following me for a while. I have been writing a book about launching, funding, and scaling a Black owned beauty supply store. I've been writing this book in detail for over 2 years. I did a soft launch or pre launch for my birthday earlier this year in February, and then quickly realized through trial and error, because this is my first time being an author, that we had to do a second edition of this book. So we went back to the drawing board, my coach and I, and we updated things, updated a lot of things, title, cover, literally everything. So it's almost like I had to take another couple of months to actually relaunch this book. But again, this is my first time writing a book, and I wanted it to be as perfect as possible. So, so this is kind of like second edition. So my first pre-launch, people were like, "Where's this book? Where's this book?" Like my parents, my dad, especially shout out to my dad. "Where's this book? I wrote this book. I wrote this book." I'm like, guys, I had to go back to the drawing board and rewrite and do some things and update this book. So I feel like this second edition is fire. I mean, I felt like the first one was absolute fire. There's just nothing out there comparable to this book that I took the time out 2 years to write. But this second edition, I added so much more information just on today's climate and just the things that we have been seeing. I was like, I got to put this in this book, y'all. So anyway, I say all that to say, the upload is happening today. It is happening today. And so I just wanted to give you guys the behind the scenes of just what that looks like, and then talk a little bit about what you can expect. Talk a little bit about this book launch that is going to be happening um, later on this month that I'm really also very excited about. And y'all, it's happening. Funny story is, I actually wanted to do like a screen share play by play of like uploading the book, but it's all good. You know, all things happen for the good of those that love the Lord. Romans 8:28. So that's not going to be happening. But instead, what I'm going to take the time to do is to really go through the chapters and why I decided to lay out the book the way that I did, and give a little snippet of what you can expect. So I'm going to bring out my manuscript. I'm just so proud because this is a long time coming, y'all. Like, look, first of all, look how, like, this is not ebook stuff. This is like a real Dear Holyfield book. And what's so amazing also about you ordering this book is that when you order this book, you're actually going to get access to a lot of the templates and guides that I have in my actual programs. So I am giving away my like business planning template. So many templates, so many is too many to name. Um, but yeah, so the book is called Breaking Barriers, and um, the reason why. Oh my gosh, am I getting teary eyed already? Come on, Jen, get it together. The reason why I really appreciate the title is, give me a minute, y'all, because why is the tears happening? Give me a second. Um, so when I got started, I was 23, and when I had my grand, by the time I had my grand opening, so I was 24. Yeah, so I was 24 years old when I had my grand opening. We'll just start from that age. So I was really, really young. And when I tell you, I didn't just feel the obstacles and challenges of being black in a space that wasn't predominantly black. I felt the challenge of being a female, also in a space that was predominantly male. And then I also felt the challenge of ageism, being very, very young in a space where there wasn't a lot of young people doing business in general, let alone operating a brick and mortar business. So when I thought of the title, Breaking Barriers, for me, it was beyond getting into this industry as a black person. It was also getting into business as a woman, getting into business also as a young entrepreneur. Those were the barriers that I was breaking at the time where I started my beauty supply store. So I just absolutely love the fact that this theme of breaking barriers is really meant to really show you guys the level of resilience that you have to have, the level of resolve that you have to have in business, and also in this industry in particular, because the barriers to entry were very high at the time where I opened my store. You couldn't even get on the phone and have a conversation with vendors without speaking the native language, which I mentioned all the time. One time I called, and because I didn't say yum and say yo, right, they hung up on me. They hung up on me. So the barriers of entry were very, very high when I started. And now the barriers of entry has been lowered. I've been in this industry for now 15 years. I still look 15. I've been in this industry for 15 years. And it is really great to see through effort, through resilience, and through that resolve in us as African American people breaking these barriers, what we are able to do now. Now they have to come to the table and they have to break that bread with us because they understand that black owned beauty supply stores are here to stay. This is not a trend. This is not a fad. We're really doing this for real. And there are really people who are leading this movement. So it goes beyond just opening stores. This is an entire movement. Just like we have civil rights movement, we have all these different movements, Black Lives Matter movements. We have all these movements. This is another movement that I'm very, very proud to actually be a part of right now. And I'm also very proud to have other black men and women come along and want to be a part of this movement, to see what is happening in this industry, to see the disparities and the numbers. It's a $17 billion industry. The average store makes a quarter million in its first year. And then we have black women. The other really interesting statistic is that we have black women at the forefront of spending at 90%. And we also have less than 1% of ownership, black women specifically. So when we look at all those numbers and we look at those statistics and the fact that there's a lot of money to be made in this industry, like guys, there's a reason why we see a lot of Korean owned, Arab owned beauty supply stores in the hood. They're not there because they want to be there. They are there because this business makes a lot of money and it cash flows very, very well. And the return on investment, a lot of my clients see the return on investment within the first 6 to 8 months. And those numbers are changing rapidly, right? So this is why this book is really, really important for us to have, especially if you are a woman or man of color black woman or man, trying to open a beauty supply store in your community. It's really important that we get this book. So let's talk about, let me get into, these chapters because child, I need a second just now. So you have, um, let's get into it. We have our dedication, which I am dedicating this book to Black women everywhere. This is just the inspiration for me, obviously, as a Black woman who got into this industry at a very, very young age and had to really overcome a lot of challenges. I'm also dedicating this book to survivors of domestic violence. I have been going through a divorce for the past 4 years, still going through a very toxic, high conflict divorce. And so at the time when I was actually writing this book, shout out to my coach, right? Candace, she was so patient with me because she'd be like, I need the chapters. Where's the chapter? And I'm like, Candace, I'm going through a divorce right now. Just give me a minute. Okay. So at the time where I was writing this book and I was waking up 4 a.m. to try to like get it done and just have the resilience and the resolve to push this book out, even though my life was so traumatic and a lot of traumatic things was happening to me, what I thought about was the financial freedom that I want other Black women to have in order to leave terrible situations. I was fortunate, and I say this to the glory of God, I was fortunate to be able to have the money to leave a toxic situation where a lot of women, especially stay at home moms, do not have the financial means to do it. And so a part of me getting up and writing this book at 4 a.m. was the fact that tears is coming again. Jeez, I didn't know it was gonna be so emotional today. Whew, was the fact that I want more than anything is for a woman to pick up this book, be able to open her beauty supply store, and have the money to leave any situation that is not serving her. That could be a relationship, that could be a housing situation, that could be the job, which for a lot of my clients, it is the job that's not serving them. Okay. So being able to get this book, get this information, and to leave that job that's not serving you, to leave the relation, whatever the situation is, right? Is to having the financial freedom to be able to do that as I was able to do it. Okay. That was a part of my motivation as well. Glory to God. Okay, so our foreword is written by a brilliant man, one of my first coaches and mentors, and one of the greatest mentors I've ever had, Lamar Tyler. He is the owner of Traffic, Sales, and Profits, and I was a part of, still am, part of his mastermind. Okay, and when I tell you, this man has created more Black millionaires than anyone else that I know of, it is him. It is he. And so I asked my mentor, Lamar Tyler, to write the foreword. And I was just like, this book is for Black women, really. And I just want you to just write something super empowering as you have brought many, many Black entrepreneurs over the 6-figure mark, over the 7-figure mark. What do you have to say for the women wanting to get into beauty supply? And his foreword is fire. Okay. So you're just going to have to get the book to read the foreword. Okay. It's fire. So our introduction is titled It's Our Turn. Like it's like Black woman, it is our time to shine. So we're gonna get into the introduction. And so I talk about my experience, my aha moment in a beauty supply store. I also talk about a little bit about what it was like opening a store in one of the most expensive cities. So we're also talking about breaking barriers in terms of opening a business in one of the most expensive cities to do so. Toughest cities, not just expensive, but just tough. Tough people, just an expensive city. Everything is just a little bit more challenging. So we're talking about breaking the barriers and also opening the first Black-owned beauty supply store in my community, being the first to do that, having a grand opening where we saw so many people come out and celebrate this young Black female opening a beauty supply store. It's like no one has ever seen that at the time that I did it. And honestly, when I talk about breaking barriers, I will tell you guys my biggest challenge, and I think internally as a mindset, was my age. And even though I had all of the qualifications and I was very confident in business because I had a business major and I also worked at the number one investment firm, arguably in the country, as well as the US Treasury Department as a bank examiner, I still felt like a little shrinking when I used to walk into some of the rooms as a beauty supply owner and always feeling like I wasn't being taken seriously because of the age. Also because I was a female, also because I was a Black female. So I talk a little bit about that, and I also um, pay homage to some of our female pioneers who have come before us, Madam C.J. Walker. I talk a lot about Black history. I really feel like as people coming into this type of industry, first of all, I feel like Black history is very, very, very important for us to just understand as Black people, but especially in this industry. And the number one question I get a lot is like, how is it that there's so many Asian owned beauty supply stores? Like, what is it? Like, what happened? And we just don't know the history. Like, I get that question a lot. And I'm just like, y'all don't, like, we just don't understand our history. I know the history behind it. And so I thought it was really, really important for us to unpack the history um, of why there's so many Asian owned stores, what took place in the US economy that allowed so many Asians to come into America and build these stores, and then also be able to really monopolize the industry. So if you want to know where you need to go, you need to know where you have come from. I believe that greatly. And so that is the beginning of our introduction and chapter one. I also talk about a lot of things that has happened in history, Black Wall Street, the impact of Black Wall Street, and this idea of Black wealth. It has happened before. This is not like a new concept, um, and it was taken from us in a very savage way. And I think it's really important for us to understand that, because what I experienced in my first couple of years of business before Target and Ulta and Sally's were actually looking for Black brands to have in their stores and cared, um, because there was no shelf representation for big box retailers. Like, all of us smaller independent retailers was able to make a lot of money. I made a lot of money in my beauty supply store in my first couple of years of business. And let me also mention, when I opened during the mortgage crisis. So we're talking about 2008, 2010 range. I mean, the crisis lasted a really long time, but I didn't feel that in my business because as unemployment at that time was very high, and people literally, we didn't have gas. Like, I don't even know if y'all remember that, but there was no gas. And it was just a crazy, crazy time. And people were like, you would be crazy to open a business right now. And I did anyway. And you know what happened? I made a lot of money. Like, I made well over six figures my first year in an 800 square foot store. My inventory, my starting inventory when I opened was like $5,000. It eventually went up to 20,000, but when I first started, it was like $5,000. I had no idea how much inventory I needed, but I talk about that in this book. That's why I wrote a book, because I talk about it in the book. So that is going into chapter two. Chapter two is all about mastering retail fundamentals and just really giving you guys the framework, right, of understanding the retail landscape. And so, like, what I challenge my clients to do, and what you'll find in my coaching programs, and just a lot of things I talk about. I need you to take a step back out of beauty supply when you first get started, and I just want you to understand that you need to put your retail hat on, right? So first thing is, you got to take the 9 to 5 mindset or 9 to 5 hat off. Then you need to put your entrepreneurial hat on. Once you put your entrepreneurial hat on, that's great. And then I then need you to put on your retailer's hat on before you can get into beauty supply. Because what we know for sure is that our Asian counterparts don't care, and they don't learn about beauty supply. They don't get obsessed about beauty products and colors and all that. They don't know nothing about that, to be honest, because we know this because we go into the stores and we ask questions and we can't get the answers. So it just shows you they know nothing about beauty supply. What they understand is the concept of retail business. And that's what we as Black people have to understand, because we know all about beauty and we know the colors and we know the trends and we got that on lock. But I need you to first master retail. And I need you to understand some basic retail concepts before we dive into beauty supply. That is why this is one of the first couple of chapters, is because it is a different type of mindset that you have to develop. And there's a lot of things that you need to understand. And then I also talk about the team that you need to develop in order for your business to be successful. So I wish I had developed the team when I first got started. And that's why we have a team now to help people open stores, because it does require a lot of different professionals who are an expert in their particular field, right? We're talking about a realtor that's an expert in their field that is going to save you a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of heartache in the contracts and negotiations and all of the things, right? There's an architect that is there to build out a store and have the roadmap of a retail store, a retail beauty supply store, the way it should be. When people walk in, they need to go a certain direction, they need to see certain things, all of that stuff, right? That's a professional, that's their lane, okay, that's their expertise. We don't have all of these different subsets of knowledge, right? We don't have that. We don't obtain it. And so it's really important that you build a really solid team. I think that will lead you to success faster than anything else will. Okay. Once we get that done, we start to talk about the business models in chapter three. So chapter three is called Beauty Supply Business Models That Actually Work. So I talk about the beauty supply models that I teach in my programs. And basically, this entire book is literally about me breaking down the courses, my main course, my beauty supply startup course, and breaking it down chapter by chapter, right? So understanding that it's not a one size fits all type of business. Like I said, guys, my store was a smaller boutique style store. We're not used to seeing that. When I opened the store, that was I probably had the smallest store in Queens, to be honest. We weren't used to seeing those types of stores, but I put it out there to show people like you don't need a big old Walmart size beauty supply store to find what you're looking for. I know what you guys are looking for, and you're going to find it all in this one cute little store, and it's going to feel safe. You're going to feel seen because people are going to greet you and talk to you and have a conversation with you. And you're going to have a top tier experience because this is a Black woman running this business that really cares about your shopping experience. And you're going to see that through me, through my staff, through everybody, through the product selection, through everything, right? So when we talk about the different business models, so we've historically have seen that high volume, high traffic warehouse business model, the Walmart, I call it the Walmart business model. And then we have like the Starbucks. I mean, not the Starbucks, but we have a smaller store like Trader Joe's, right? A smaller store, it's more niche down, and you have a more niche selection. So it's like Starbucks coffee versus 7-Eleven or Dunkin' Donuts or something that's just more generic. Those two business models can exist and you can make money. Now, the way you make money is just going to be different. And I explain that in this chapter. Okay, and I explain quite a few different business models, right? And I also talk about my clients throughout this book and how we also integrated these different business models based on what my client was looking to establish in the community. So some of our clients, a lot of us, we really vibe the same. We really want more niche, high end stores, beautiful stores for Black women to come in and feel this level of luxury. That has been missing from the beauty supply stores we have historically been able to shop at. There's no high end experience. There's no experience at all, let alone a high end experience. And we feel a certain type of way when we go into our favorite stores, like say Sephora or Mac, whatever your favorite store is. You feel this dopamine rush. You don't feel that dopamine rush when you're going into certain beauty supply stores. And so clients come to me because they want to create that. And when they do create it, they make a lot of money because the focus is on the experience. All right. And so that goes into what I teach when we're talking about the different business models, high volume versus low volume, and making sure that the reader understands that at the forefront of all these different business models has to be profit. You're not going to have any type of business if the business is not going, if your store is not going to be a profitable store. So no matter what business model you decide to go with, at the core and at the center of it, it needs to be profitable. Okay. That is chapter 3. Then we go into chapter 4, which is creating your unique brand in order to stand out. Now, the other challenge that I feel a lot of people have mindset wise is there's a lot of beauty supply stores. It's a saturated industry, and I don't know if I'm going to be successful. Well, chapter 4 is going to break down how I was able to build a brand that was a standalone brand to where people are saying competition where we're not in the same category. That is the goal I want for people to have when you're building your store. It shouldn't be copy and paste off of the person that's already in your community. Because what would be the point of even doing that? There's already a store that looks like this and has these things and is doing what whatever they're doing over there. What would be the point of replicating that? We want to create safe spaces. Again, we want to create high energy, high level luxury spaces for Black women to shop because we've never had that. Okay, these stores that we've been shopping at, and I put this in the book, it's just a notch above a 99-cent store. They're crowded, they have a lot of products, and we're walking in and we don't know where to start. And we're feeling confused and overwhelmed as soon as they walk in. You don't want that for your beauty supply store. You want people to feel a sense of calm, a sense of peace. Like, oh, this is different. I thought this was a salon. This is what people used to say about my store. They was like, I thought this was a hair salon from the outside because it's just so beautiful and it's just so open and it's clean and it's just the vibes are here. And you walk in and you're greeted with like these beautiful women. And so when I had my store, we had like a dress code down to the makeup, down to the lipstick. We were called the red lip gang because everyone in the store wore a red lip. And when you wear a red lip, it doesn't matter who you are, red, black, white, Hispanic, Latino. The red lip is just powerful and it just gives you this instant pop. And so when I was like, I was always rocking the red lip and I was just like, this is just going to be a part of our brand. That is what people notice as soon as they, and when I tell you it didn't fail, it did not fail. People walk in and they would see us with the red lip and they'd be like, I want to shop here. I want to, just because of the vibe. As soon as you walk in, it's just different. And the girls are different. And we just talk different, we act different, everything's just different. This is how you create a brand that's going to be set apart because when you walk in and you're just like shocked at everything, there's just no competition at that point. It doesn't matter how big the competitors are. You're not even on the same level with me and my staff in terms of how we present ourselves. Y'all not even on the same level. And so I talk about crafting your own unique brand, creating your own unique selling proposition, right? Down to your own product mix, right? And then how you go about creating your brand, how you go about creating curb appeal and all of the different things, right? How to incorporate your five senses as well into your branding. We talk about the five senses a lot in my programs and in my challenges and all the things, right? That is how you allow people to have that like little hit with dopamine, which is really important for people to feel that when they come to your store because when they leave, that feeling stays with them and they're always thinking about how they felt when they were in your store and how they want that feeling again. So they're going to come back and go into your store and then they're going to come back and bring people also to your store. And so I talk about how to not only create this brand that's going to have this lasting impact, but how to create a brand that's going to be able to attract your ideal customers to your store because not everyone's going to appreciate a high-end store, by the way. We had a lot of people who was just like, I walked by and it just looked expensive and I just never came in. Because I used to always ask people like, your first time here, da da da, and like, you know, how's this your first time coming to the store? We've been here for 5 years. I remember this one time I was there for 5 years and people came in and was like, oh, I didn't know the store's here. I was like, I've been here for 5 years. How did you not know that my store was here? And then people are like, I know, I just walked by and it just looked like really expensive, so I just never cared. So sometimes we know that not everybody is going to be like our ideal client, and sometimes they are. There are certain people that is going to be for the 99-cent looking beauty supply store because that is just their vibe. That is just, there's people that's just going to be attracted to that. Just like I said before, you have Walmart, then you got Trader Joe's and Whole Foods. I don't go to Walmart. I don't go to Walmart. I used to go to Target before the boycott. Let's be clear, I don't go to Target anymore, but I always chose Target over Walmart. That's just me. That's just my vibe. It's going to be the same with your beauty supply store. So don't feel away if your branding also repels the wrong people, because the wrong people is like going to be like, oh, they're going to $20 for this. Why am I paying 20? They're just not going to get it. Okay. So, and that's also okay. And that's also something that I also write in my book is that it's also okay. I'm not going to be for everyone, right? The whole point of having a niche beauty supply store is that you are for a specific woman or man. The store is specific to this person. Obviously, we are open for everyone, but the way we curate the store and the way we select our products and the way we curate the aesthetic, it is for a specific person. And also, our marketing and everything goes into speaking that person's language. That's all a part of building a brand to where there's no competition because you have been so intentional about curating a brand that's specifically for your tribe. Okay, that is chapter 4. Now, chapter 5, and we got how many chapters? We got 10 chapters, I think, in this book. I really, like I said, I spent 2 years writing this book, so 10 chapters. Chapter 5 is all about legalizing your beauty supply store. I talk about why it's very, very important for you guys to have the proper structure, for you to have your trademarks, for you to also have, if you are planning on doing any type of educational work, especially, I teach this all my programs, like you definitely want to um, incorporate educational things into your beauty supply brand because it just helps you not only build more revenue, but it also helps you stand apart from the competition because the competition is not going to create ebooks on how to do these things and videos, DIY videos and things of that nature. So when I had my store, I was doing a whole bunch of DIY videos, like professionally created, edited DIY videos, how to wash your hair, the lock method, all the things that was really popular at that time. We curated content to educate our people on how to do these things. So back then, people were going through the big chop and all this other stuff. And so we had a lot of educational content. Now, I do have clients that put that into ebooks and they make money off of ebooks. Now, if you're going to do that, it's really important to protect your intellectual property. Okay. Do not let nobody play on your intellectual property. Just like you wouldn't want nobody to come into your store and steal straight off the shelf, you don't want no one to steal your IP. So it's really important to have protections around that as well. I will tell you, I have had to fight and do lawsuits off of my IP many a time. I'm not afraid to do a lawsuit if someone trying to steal my stuff. And so the same way I'm saying that for me, and I share my stories in the book in detail, you also want to be able to protect yourself as well. I share a lot of stories, a lot of personal stories in this book, y'all. Also talking about permits and zoning and all the things that you need to have in place. There's a lot of legal things that we don't think about. And we just think, oh, I just need an LLC and I'll be good. No, baby. I got stories for days, and the stories are all in my book about how you need to make sure the permits and CFOs and all of those things are together, especially with contractors and whoever's on your team. You need to make sure that they have the proper things in place so that your store does not get delayed on grand openings, because I will tell you a lot of delays happen with the city permits, right? So there's delays in your grand opening. And I will also say, like, the number one reason why we have delays in grand opening is due to permits or something that the contractor failed to do, things of that nature. Okay, many, many legal pitfalls that I talk about in this chapter that is very, very important. And you're just not going to get this information on Google. People don't really like to talk about the legal pitfalls and permits. And I talk about this one story where it's funny now. It wasn't funny then, but I can laugh about it now. Where I had this beautiful sign, spent a lot of money, thousands of dollars on this lit sign, and didn't realize I need to have a permit for it. I'll talk about that story in that chapter. So we're gonna move on. Chapter 6 goes into startup costs, business planning, and funding. Right? This is also a big this is a big obstacle for a lot of people. I say that to say like funding and understanding startup costs is a big thing. So what I did in this chapter, which was just genius, is I went through all of the different types of beauty supply businesses that you can start. And then I also went through a cost analysis of what it takes to create that business. So I talk about delivery, drop shipping, e-commerce, and of course, starting brick and mortar store, vending machines. All of that I talk about in this chapter, so that you can have a really good idea of what it's going to take um, financially and the time investment to start these different businesses. Because another question that I get often is like, can I just go ahead and start online? And if you know me, you already know what my answer is to that. Of course, you can start online, but does it make financial sense given the investment of time and money to get this store off the ground? Um, but also just the return on time um, is what you also want to look at. And then I talk about how to go about funding your store as a new startup. You know, the different options out there that I didn't know about when I was starting my store. And I wish I had someone kind of walk me through the fact that you don't just have to use your own personal money or 401k. There's other ways to actually get your store fully funded, and which is what we do now in our programs is help people get fully funded through the SBA programs. So that is chapter 6. Then chapter 7, I gotta move on a little faster here, guys. We talk about finding the location and then building out the store. So chapter 7, I really talk about I wanted to talk about how to find like the perfect location and making sure that um, that it's in your budget, because a lot of times we get into these leases and we don't know what our budget is. We have no idea where to get started with a budget. And so that's the first part of the chapter. And then I talk about lease negotiation and then understanding lease terms, which is really important, because you'll be in a lease for 3 to 5 years. And then the importance of having a realtor. So we have a realtor on our team that walks our clients through lease negotiations, and she pretty much does all of the heavy lifting in terms of a lease. Um, but for someone who is kind of doing this on your own, I really walk you through what you should be looking out for in terms of your lease agreement. And then we talk about creating the actual store layout. So again, we have a person on our team who builds out the layouts and where things should go. But I also give you guys a lot of information on different layouts, free flow layouts, grid layouts, and then I also have some examples of some of my clients who have different layouts in their stores and what would make the most sense for your size store and your budget as well. And I also give you guys different shelving options, where to buy the stuff with each different type of layout. I mean, this is just packed full of information. And then we talk about the signs and the permits. Again, lighting is very important. I think that's something that people kind of, when I go into beauty stores, I'm always looking at the lighting. I'm like, this is not good enough. So I talk a lot about what that looks like as well. Then we get into chapter 8, y'all. Chapter 8. Okay. And I hope y'all realizing like this book was written in order of how you should be doing things, right? So that's really important to know. So once you have the store and it's set up and it looks beautiful, like inventory is the next thing that you will want to learn and master. Okay. Inventory is the largest asset on your balance sheet. You must understand the ins and outs of vendors, vendor relationships, and inventory. So we talk about this in chapter 8. And inventory management and vendor relationships is going to be key. I talk about the different roles. Like, so most of the time, the CEO for the first couple of years, you are going to be the buyer of your beauty supply store. That is a whole job. That's a whole role. Like I talk about when I worked for Nordstrom. Um, I worked for that. I worked for Nordstrom in Manhattan, and they literally had buyers that would go out to shows, and that was their full time job. It's a very very serious job to have. And like I said, for any new store owner, you're probably going to be the buyer for the first couple of years of business. But I talk about how me and my sister used to go to expos, and were always on YouTube, and we was always doing all the things. Um, and that is a part, literally, that's a part of your job. Like, if you do not want to go to hair shows and expos, and that is not your thing, and you don't see yourself doing it, you're probably going to have a hard time in beauty supply, because that is a big part of the job. Okay, is being out and understanding the trends, and what people are buying, and just staying on top of everything. And then also relationship building. I think a big mistake that we make as entrepreneurs, Black entrepreneurs coming into this heavily Asian dominated industry, is that we feel like all the Asians are the enemy, and we don't have a welcoming like relationship mindset. But I talk about in this one section of this chapter is like you have to see it more as a collaborative relationship, more like if you're coming from that 9 to 5 corporate mindset, like these are like my co-workers, and our goal as co-workers is to bring the product to the client. And so we have to kind of work together in order for that to happen, especially for you to be profitable, because a lot of the vendors, most of the reps are able to negotiate better terms for you. So it is in your best interest for you to always have a really collaborative mindset, just in general, but especially when it comes to your vendors. I also talk about your vendor strategy, choosing the right inventory, creating your product mix. I talk about creating the product mix at nauseum, just in general, y'all. I talk about creating the product mix, and creating a profitable product mix, and making sure that it's curated to your community, because everyone, guys, every community is going to sell different things in different volume. And so you want to make sure that you do the right R&D, research and development, to create a product mix for your store that's going to make you the money. Okay, and we get into chapter 9, which is talking about your big day, which is not the wedding day, it is the grand opening day. And some of the systems and things that you need to have in place. Um, this is more of an operational chapter, right? So I talk about like the different bank accounts, and understanding that it's not just one account that you should have. You should have many accounts. And I talk about the operations plan and all the things that you need in place to make sure that your store could be ran like a real business, and not a mom and pop store to where you have to be there 24/7. We don't want to create another job for you. We don't want you to be, chained to a cash register 7 days a week and basically creating another job for you. We want what every entrepreneur wants, which is time freedom, financial freedom, and you need systems in place in order for you to have the ability to have time freedom, and to be that mom that is very present in their children's lives, going to games, doing all the things, because you have a business that is able to run itself because of the systems that you have put in place in order to do that. Okay, so that goes also into marketing the business. I talk about marketing, and all the things that you need to do to prepare for your grand opening. And then chapter 10, which is kind of like a bonus chapter. This is why I had to come back to the drawing board and kind of do a second edition, because I also wanted to give some insight into what it looks like to have a successful multi six figure operation. And this chapter is just like a sneak preview into the next book that I plan on writing one day, where it's just for people who are currently operating stores. Um, and I talk about like my framework for the different areas of operating a successful six-figure stores. So we go back into like operations, customers, marketing, inventory. Um, those things I talk about in this book on how to prepare and build a foundation of those core things. And this last chapter, it's talking about how you maintain and keep it going so that you can have a six-figure, multiple six-figure operation. Um, and we end there, and we end on chapter 10. And I'm incredibly excited. Y'all give me some love in the chat if you are excited for this book to come out. Give me a fire, like the video, give me some love in the chat if you guys are as excited as I am for this book to drop, because we are having our virtual launch party, and our date as of today is going to be November 1st. Okay, November 1st. And so, definitely, guys, if you would like to be a part of that launch party, you can type launch in the chat, and I will send you the link to attend the launch party, um, our free launch party, because I'm going to be not only just having our big launch of the book, but I'll also be giving away some free things, some free gems, and it's going to be really, really good. So if you want to join the launch party so you can get your copy of this amazing book, you can drop in the chat launch, and I will send you a link for you to join. So that is it. I'm really, really excited for this book. Like I said, I have spent 2 years writing this book. This book literally is from the past 15 years, that half of the 15 years I operated my own stores, and the other half I have helped other people opening their own beauty supply stores. So this comes from a combination of the two experiences that I've had, owning and operating a store, and then also on the consulting side and helping people build their dream beauty supply store. So I am incredibly honored to be able to produce this work. I don't take it lightly that I am in a moment that is going to really change the face of beauty supply. And it is, when I say we have a goal of opening 100 stores, we have a goal of opening 100 Black owned stores to ultimately change the face and the representation of beauty supply and what we have historically seen it as, right? And so this is huge, and it's just more than a book. And so I definitely would love for you guys to be at this launch party, our virtual launch party. So again, like I said, type the word launch in the chat, and I will send you guys the link for you to join. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, again, please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment in the chat. Let me know how excited you are to get this book. And I'll see you guys on the next live. Love you guys. Bye.